Hi everyone, my name is Steph Clovechok and I am so excited to be here today to talk to you about one of our family's favorite meals. I originally come from the city of Calgary and was born there and raised in the East Kootenays of British Columbia, where I was very much an active child with a very active family. So the name of the game for my family was fast meals. My mom had 3 mouths to feed and we were always doing something, and so this meal today that we are going to share is very much a meal that you can get ready and on the table for your family in a super quick amount of time, and it's super tasty too. What we're making today is a super easy, delicious tomato basil pasta. And so to start, of course, is spaghetti. My family loves a smaller noodle, so we always go with the spaghetti, and I always like to choose one of the healthier kinds that's not just straight white flour pasta. And then next is one of my favorite ingredients on the planet, and it's basil. I don't know about anybody, but basil grows like crazy in my garden, and I always need somewhere to put it to use. So easiest thing, buy a package from the grocery store, or if you've got an abundance of it in your garden, just freeze it in little chunks, or even put it in little ice cube trays, and that's an awesome way to freeze and preserve your herbs. But we'll start with some basil, and then of course the cherry tomatoes. Big tomatoes don't really taste good in this, so you need a good, hard, firm cherry tomato for this. And then unlike most pastas, this is a pasta that's based in olive oil and garlic. So literally all that the sauce will be olive oil. Got some minced garlic here today, tomatoes and basil, and that is it. So first things first, I always love to make sure that there's some bread alongside our pasta. I don't know that it's the best thing for our diet to go carb on carb, but that's kind of the person that I am, and my family, especially my kids, love their carbs. So with this sauce, it's such a tasty sauce that we always like to have some bread on the side to lap up all the last little bits of sauce. Okay, so tomatoes and basil are all chopped, and now it is time to get our sauce going. So first things first, I've dropped the pasta in the hot water, it's cooking up, and we're going to start with olive oil and garlic.
So you just cut the tomatoes in half?
Yep, just cut the tomatoes right in half, and then sometimes there's little baby ones that aren't so big, and you can just leave those ones in there. Those are super yummy when you've got a full little tomato in there. And then the basil is just chopped finely. So we'll start with some olive oil. I just cover the pan with oil. This is going to be the sauce, and so you don't want to run out of too much sauce, and this is really where all of the flavor exists. If you're using chopped garlic, 1 teaspoon is worth 2 cloves of garlic, and I usually use a whole bulb. So at least 2 or 3 here for me and my family, because I love to sneak garlic into my kids' diet. It's got so many great immune properties, so good for your digestion. And then next will be the basil. The pan is on really, really low. And so what's important here is that if you're using fresh garlic especially, the garlic itself can burn really, really quickly. So just a super low pan is probably the best advice I've got, and just let it sit. Here's where the olive oil can really soak up those flavors of the basil and the garlic, and here I'll add some salt in as well.
Recording again?
So we're going to get the pasta off the water here, and there's no time frame that the pasta needs to be done by. I always put the pasta on first because this is really, this dish can be served hot, or I have added the pasta to the sauce many times and let it sit in the fridge for a day, and then just had a cool room temperature pasta salad in the next day. So I'm going to get this off the water. So I'll just set the pasta aside. No need to do anything there. And let's have a little test here and see how we're doing with our oil. I could turn this up a little bit. Given that it's not fresh basil, we don't have to worry too much, or not fresh garlic, we don't have to worry too much about the garlic burning. And I would say with the already chopped garlic, probably get quite a bit more of that garlic flavor. So this will be super yummy. Next are the cherry tomatoes. And we're going to just drop those into the oil and make sure that that oil is still quite low. And the time that the cherry tomatoes belong in this little oil mixture is very short. It's literally just a little bit of time to soften them, but not get them too soggy. It's still nice to have a fresh tomato taste and texture when you're eating the pasta. So we'll just let them kind of soak up those flavors of the garlic, turn it up a little bit. Now, another addition to this meal would be adding chicken to it. And if you really want to turn it up a notch, you would wrap that chicken in prosciutto, which is a type of bacon or ham, a thinly sliced type of bacon or ham. And that makes it just absolutely delectable. I would say that I think that one thing that I know for sure about my family is when there's bacon applied, it is a good meal. And then once the sauce is all ready, I just throw that pasta in and start to turn it about. And like I said before, this can be made a night before. It's a great lunch for the kids if you're running low on time and you don't want to just throw a quick sandwich together. My children for sure will eat this meal over and over and over again. And you know, this summer I really had an abundance of cherry tomatoes and basil in my garden, and so this was a really nice meal to make for the family, but also a nice meal just to drop off to the neighbors as well. Okay, so our pasta is off the stove, and you know, I think that eating is such a passion of mine and becoming a passion for my family. And I really do believe that we eat with our eyes first, and when something looks beautiful, it tastes even better. So this little pasta takes no time, and it is such a feast for the eyes. It's got beautiful colors of those fresh basil and tomatoes. And so for my family, this is truly it. There is always a fight over who gets more pasta. And so I'll always add a couple of little twirls. The pasta, it's nicely coated in that garlic and olive oil and basil sauce, and then add some of those tomatoes on there. And again, like I mentioned, a really nice way to turn this dish up is to add a chicken breast. So my favorite way to cook that chicken breast, if you're wrapping it in prosciutto, would be to wrap two pieces of prosciutto around the chicken, and then when you sear it, just to keep that prosciutto right on the chicken, so it kind of seals it to the chicken. And once it's seared, you can throw it in the oven, and again, quick chicken breast, cut it up on top, and there you go. You've got a beautiful meal for your family. Now, as I mentioned, bread essential. What I love to do for a quick and easy garlic bread, I've cut a piece off because this is an homage to my child who will not eat any bread unless it's plain. So that would be for him. But otherwise, what I like to do is take a bread like this, beautiful French loaf, and cut slices in it, but don't cut all the way through. And if you just cut a few slices in it, and you can cut it the whole way through and have some leftovers, then what you can do is take a stick of butter and get your oven nice and hot, probably about 425 to get that bread really nice and crispy. Is take your butter and then just cut it into squares. So a few squares will usually do for one piece, and then you just sneak it inside and stuff your butter in there. And then garlic again. So I would sprinkle a little bit of garlic inside, do that for every single piece. And then my favorite thing to do is sprinkle a little butter and a bit of Parmesan cheese on the top. Fresh Parmesan cheese on top is so good. If you have the shaker stuff, it works too, but it doesn't quite melt and crisp up the way that I like it. And so that's it. That doesn't take too long. The bread is usually the longest thing. So I'll usually throw the bread and the pasta in at the same time, and then it's supper time. I think that this is probably one of my favorite meals. I would say any sort of Italian dish to have with a nice little glass of wine. But super easy. Like I said, you can put it in the fridge and cook it the day before. Our family loves to sit down to this, and one of my favorite parts of having this as a family meal is not only seeing how much they enjoy it, but truly seeing them coated in it. They are dripping with olive oil and juices all over the place, and I don't think that there's anything that warms a parent's heart more than seeing their children eat and be nourished by good quality food. Favorite part, having a bite, I always twirl my pasta and make sure that I get a piece of that tomato in there. If you're having chicken, make sure to combine it all in your bite. So good. It's really aromatic, very much as if I knew how to cook Italian food, but I don't. So this is as good as it gets. And of course, as the meal goes on and you've got that delicious sauce, you can lap it all up in your bread. And so that's just one of our family's favorite meals. So grateful to have been joined by you today. Thank you so much for joining it, and a huge thank you to CHEP Foods, who are doing such incredible work in our community.